says I am live. Now I'm live. I wasn't live before. Now I'm live. Like live and direct. Okay. Peace, peace. All right.
Peace.
Peace, peace.
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 God.
Peace.
How you been?
I'm good.
That's peace. Where's my pictures?
Khan Islami, peace. Peace, I God TV. Okay. I teach my class tonight, so teach it online and also in the classroom. So
Okay.
when there are enough students, because of the COVID,
Right.
it was the first Thursdays in years that I wasn't able to come to the school. So
Okay.
I started doing it on YouTube. But
So what you teach?
my course is called the P.E.A.C.E course, Political Education and Civilization Enrichment. So it's a civilization class like any other, but it focuses on political education, really how to deal with the outside world,
Right.
whatever the student is dealing with, though. So it's very particular to the student.
What is it? Zoom?
This is YouTube.
So on my laptop, I will go to.
You would go to my channel. So my name is Sunez.
Write it
You
down
go
for
to
me because
right. You would go.
I could tune in and do the knowledge too.
Absolutely. Let me get a. Yeah, there's some people here. Yeah, you would go to Sunez.
Did you use the restroom? The restroom is right here. But I'll be right back. Let me take.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Political education.
Right.
But see, these are some of the. I don't know
Peace.
my pictures. This is my youngest seed, Quest.
Peace. Sunez Allah.
And that's his first. Tanzania.
Peace.
Yeah, these are some of the colors and fruits and stuff. But I had 3 fires, so a lot of my pictures from when I was a little girl, all of them is gone. All of them got burnt up in the fire. You know? But we're gonna take some more. A lot of brothers and sisters, they return to the essence of them and still here with us. You know? Yeah. Okay. A lot of the pictures is gone. This is the law. That's the father. That's the
Peace. 793rd YZU D
This is the one that was
DBO 89.
out of darkness, force from out of darkness. Go ahead.
Okay, so we have a lot of stuff to get to. This is the class, right?
Okay.
So I
Tell me
teach it-
what hour do you turn
Okay,
tune in so I
so-
can tune in?
All right. So just so you know, I've been teaching this course since 2000. Okay.
I didn't even know it. I'm a recovery
I-
coach in a peer.
No, that's peace. Yeah.
Yeah.
So political education and civilization enrichment. So the science of everything in life, along
Yeah.
with what they're dealing with. So it
Yeah.
really depends on the students that are in the classroom,
Mhm.
and in that classroom, what happens is that I develop curriculums for each student that I'm dealing with, though, particular to them, and then also to the general classroom.
Right.
So if you go on YouTube and you write Sunez 7, you would come to my channel.
Okay.
So now it's streaming now, so people could watch it live. But let's say, like, if they just went to my channel and have written it in there, they would be able to watch all the class sessions that I've been doing. So
Okay.
all of these are already up there, so they could just
Okay,
watch them.
good.
So no,
Good.
even
So
if they
just
miss
watch
it,
'em.
yeah, even if they miss,
Okay.
yeah, Right.
All right, God, that's peace.
Okay.
So write your, if you don't mind, write your math down for me.
That's peace.
Because like if I ask a question, if I don't understand, I ask questions.
That's peace. Okay. So there's my math right there. All right.
Okay, God. My name is Mother Shakima.
Peace, sir.
Peace. Yep, I'm one of the elder earths in the nation. I've been here since knowledge for God century years.
That's peace.
Yeah.
That's really peace.
Yeah.
If any of you students have any questions, throw them on there.
Okay, definitely.
There's gonna be stuff that I go through as I go along. We'll go through certain things and.
Okay. Because I could like get my some of my clients involved in it, 'cause,
That's peace. That's peace. Yeah.
The Father told us that the duty of a civilized person is to teach knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to all the human families.
All the
of
human
planet
families.
Earth,
That's right.
There's so many folks out there that don't know how to deal with their MGT and GCC, meaning cleaning themselves, feeding themselves, the right foods, how to get the proper rest, how to go to the doctor, how to Google the medications that the doctor give them. Simple things. Like I was just making knowledge more to my young seed. You only got one body. If you're good to your body gonna be good to you. But you gotta know how to treat your body. That comes along with education. You have to educate your mind. Your mind always has to be in educational mode, learning mode. That's why when you say what you said, when you made that knowledge once, okay, God, give me the info.
Right.
Knowledge is infinite.
That's right.
Goes on and on and on and on and on. The more knowledge, the more proper knowledge that you have, the powerful you become in your ways and your actions if you choose to follow that path. The Father gave us the path. You choose to go left or right.
That's right.
We know the right road is narrow, the wrong road is real wide. So we don't want to go down that road, we're going to get lost. Like a lot of us did when we was out there, got lost.
That's right.
But when we're going the right way, it's only one way. That's straight. Go to the left, the negativity, nothing that's good for you happens. Put it to you like that, live the experience. The went through the love, hell, and right. Now I'm living right. And I'm bringing everyone I can bring it to that fold while we're still alive. Everything I had to tell. I was sitting on my bed and I said, wow. Now my brother Umala gone. Now great mind's gone. My brother Raleigh, I'm a Medina warrior. And I'm like, a lot of them is gone. Like,
right.
What am I going to do for the ones that's coming up in our nation before I go? You know what I mean? It's not about me. It's about what we leaving behind. What we going to teach them? How are they going to be able to make it out here in the wilderness of North America and be able to move forward with their life and be able to educate someone that's going to be prosperous? And it's a difference between spitting out lessons and living the lessons. Letting it be a part of your life so people can see. We don't want people to see, oh, get drunk. What is that? No. The Father told us, go to school, because my God name is Old Man Shakim, right, from the desert. And the Father used to run me behind off this corner. Boy, y'all go to school. Boy, go to school. Get a job, get an education. Okay, that's what the Father told us. Be prosperous in life. Make a life worth living. Because the Father seen right in these corners how the police used to fire hose the black boys down, handcuff them, let the dogs mow on their bodies, and the police was gushing down with the fire hoses and just leave them. The father seen them chained and burned, lynched, and that's why the father wanted better for us. He knew that he stayed in the months, he would not been able to assist us, to give us the proper knowledge of ourselves, so we wouldn't have to be shackled physically as well as mentally. You know? So the father did a lot of things, and the father, when he taught, like he just go spurs. Those spurs. And he gave me a whole lot at one time. Because he needed it to marinate within your spirit and in your mind. Put it, store it in your attic. So it's an Asiatic. You know, let the knowledge be flowed into your attic so it can stay, and as you get older, you know, we go above our heads. But that's the hell that we had to go through. We had to learn the difference between right and wrong. So when you become a certain age in this nation, you should already know and understand that that wrong way is not going to help make things prosperous in your future. It's not about us. We are babies. Right. You know what I mean? Teenagers. You think they're not looking at us? You know, I mean, another thing, right? No, you gotta get back to your thing, right? But you can't beat this knowledge into nobody. You know what I mean? That Father just told us. We have a choice. Either you want to accept it or you don't want to. The choice is up to you. Self a savior. Save yourself. Help save yourself. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that's basically, and I appreciate you, you know, performing your duty as a civilized Black man here in the wilderness of North America. You know, I have my job as a righteous Black queen here in the wilderness of North America. You know, and that's to I work with home and community-based services, and I work with the HC Core Living Positive. We help deal with people. We help people, individuals that have mental health disorders, also a lot of physical ailments, also some that's still addicted to drugs, some that's in recovery, living in recovery houses, trying to get housing, jobs, schooling. Some of them with chronic ailments. You know, they're not going to live too much longer. However, we get them the equipment and stuff that they need. A lot of veterans fought for this country and they're not able to get prosthetic legs and stuff like that. So we got to go through the channels, the Veterans Administration, to get it for them. But at the same time, they family, they have babies. They got to eat. We're in an epidemic now. Oh, it's hard. But I could do it. It's doing it every day, you know. It's work. It takes a real strong individual to do what me and you do, and you realize that, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, be careful, because they were saying somebody hacked into the school. Some school, junior high school was somebody already hacked into the computer. Right? Kids trying to learn. Why would you put pornography on that? Already hacked into the school year's supposed to start next week, but it's already been hacked into. So make sure nobody's not able to hack into your thing.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
All right,
that's peace.
All the love, peace and blessings.
Peace, honey.
All right. Think about today's mathematics. You see just living it, right? You just heard me just building it, and then I just thought, oh, today's mathematics is real.
That's right.
Wow. I'll be right back. Okay, let me just
Anyone have any questions, you let me know. I'm going to go into some early things in a little bit. T-Bow, yeah, always polo. That's what I rock. Going down to the shoes. Wardrobe is not 70, 80, or 90. 100%.
There's no airplanes right here. Danny, where is the air freshener? Oh, hello? Yeah. Huh? Yeah, she called me. Yeah, we can read you things. You didn't talk to her. She's supposed to have called you.
Okay, I'm just sharing this link on the media, social media, if it ever works. Okay. Peace. Got a lot of people in here. 793rd. Definitely. Wise you? Absolutely. I was born. Hi, Yazid. I'm pretty sure I'm up to date with everybody's emails. Um, okay. Very interesting. Okay. I got some things working slowly on my computer and other things working faster. I'm trying to get to certain materials that I was going to use, and it's not really going so fast. So, all right. Of course, if you have any builds on the day's mathematics, questions on any degrees or anything, status updates or wherever you're at, let me know. Let me know what you would like to know. A big part of the learning process here is being able to develop your own questions. If you're not able to develop your own questions, then think about it for a minute. It really takes away from this concept of knowledge of self. It's a knowledge really of self, of you. And in this process, if you don't have your own particular questions, particular angles, and you direct the pedagogy yourself, the science, that's that pathway of teaching, and don't take an active participation in that way, then it loses some of its aspect of knowledge of self. So there's an autodidactic aspect to it. You know, there's a lot of self-learning, but also a lot of self-direction in the way that you direct whoever it is, your enlightener and your teachers that you have. Okay, because there'll be a lot of things that I will see that you will need, particularly individually. But as that student of the knowledge of yourself, there are things that you should be bringing to the classroom and myself at all times. All right.
Somebody?
Oh, all right.
I know that you two are not officially in this classroom right now, but you're actually in my classroom. So if there's anything that you want to ask, I mean, feel free. Anything that you'd like to ask. Okay? Okay. All right, a lot of the students are here. You've all checked in. But yeah, let me know what it is. All right. Now, last week, just a couple of like features or little things that I want to go through. The I think sometimes it's good to go through some of the things I hand out that I seem to have given out that appear to be self-explanatory, but they're not as self-explanatory as you would think. Um, because I don't. One is because I don't know how well you're using it. Also, too, because as I go through them, there are things in there that I want to update. So I'm in the process of updating the 50 book beginner, the Power Cipher beginner book list. Some of these books are not as useful. There's better books, definitely in the health realm. Any list that has books about health is going to be is going to have to be updated constantly. So the health books certainly I find to be outdated. They're not bad. I mean, if you had them, but now they're more like reference literature and not really like a go-to complete um, usefulness. But in your book collections, when you're collecting books about health, those always have to be updated. They get outdated very quickly, as they should be, because we learn more about our own health. Also, too, I want to update for certain books that are really, really difficult, nearly impossible to actually get, um, or just hard to get. Let me see, because I think this one. Let me just try it. Or just not as good. Um, let's see. Yeah, some books are okay, but they're not great. You know. Peace to the God. Peace. Sunez Allah. I found some books are not as good as others. Tell you, good question. Good question. Let me finish what I'm going through. I have a two-part thing about books. Let me finish one part, right? And then I'll go into that question about the fast. And then I'll go back to the book feature that I wanted to feature for you because it's because of the book list. There are certain books I read every year. I want to start going through essential books that I find to be most useful. Starting with books I read all the time, but also books and why they are so useful. And as we go along, some of these books that I've read years ago that they're in my mind as like referential literature. I myself forget how important they still are because they become a lot of stuff that isn't known has become common knowledge to me. And some events recently have made me realize that, right? So, yeah, Message the Black Man is a good example of that. All right, Mr. G1, peace. Give me a minute though. Let me survey the scene here. I will be right back. All right, I'm back. I'm walking back. All right. The okay. Okay, so all right. Thanks for holding on. Peace, Saladin. Saladin, I hope you got my email back to you, because you sent me 2 pages of a bill, but you're gonna have to make that digital, because those pictures, I opened them, nothing was legible. I really wanted to read it, but I couldn't. Couldn't make out one word on it. um, but yeah, get that written down, because it should be written down anyway. It shouldn't just be on paper anyway. Um, and that work of getting it off the paper into a computer or whatever, hopefully give you some hard work there. That's what I like to do. Okay. All right, let me just share this link. If you're on Facebook, right, definitely befriend me, because there's a Peace Corps group that I have in there. I've had it for years, so if you know, that's also another possible way to communicate and whatnot. All right, so what I was saying about the book list first, then we'll get into that question from Talib Allah. Some of these books, they are outdated. There's better ones. Some of them are good, and also too, they might be a little difficult to find. And I mean, ideally, if I could, I would love to have a list where all of this beginner book list I could actually give you. Although that's not the case. There's a lot of books on this list that I'm not able to share digitally. I just don't have them all digitally, but a lot of them I do, you know. So that's something I'm going to work on. It takes a lot of work, because there's a lot of books I've read. And then, you know, little battles within myself of what books are worthy. And then some books, they have to stay there, or should they stay there? Like, for example, The Mayor's Man. If you get knowledge of self, that's an essential reference to know of the book by Barry Gottehrer, because Barry Gottehrer wrote about, you know, he was the deputy mayor. But it's out of print, you know, so like writing it there is kind of like giving you a 49 book, like 49 list, even though some of them I double up and triple up. But, you know, basically it's like a lost, you know, a wasted slot, I should say, a wasted slot, you know, because there's no way to get that book, you know. Yeah, yeah. Since you said very interesting, Musaddiq, The Mayor's Man, right? So you may not all have this history. Because of the unrest in 1960s urban communities, yeah, let's see. It was out of print for a long time, you know, and it's not a book that comes back into print very often. So let's see. It doesn't even come out in a search here on. Yeah, it doesn't even come out in a search on Amazon. Okay, so yeah, look, a search through Google led me to an Amazon page, and for example, they have it for, I'll share it with you all. They have it for how much? Nah, not too pricey, $1,516. I'm sure that buying that one book though is going to be worth $1,000 worth of other books, $1,500 worth of other books. Yeah, which is a ridiculous price. Keeping it real, there is nothing that you will learn in The Mayor's Man that will blow you away. It's more of a proof about the Father, and to add on to it, So the deputy mayor, they sent deputy mayors basically to find people that are in the 1960s that could connect with the community leaders. Okay. Um, yeah. Yeah. So it's not available. I'm sorry. I got lost in this one. I don't see it anywhere. Maybe like a PDF or something. But no. Yeah. I still have my copy and it's, it's pretty beat up. But so they sent these deputy mayors, right, to each of the neighborhoods in New York and the outer boroughs, and Bed-Stuy, all everywhere, the Bronx, whatnot. And then that was Mayor John Lindsay, right? Um, Eventually, Barry Gottehrer became the one to find Allah. He was definitely on a list because even though he wasn't doing crimes or having any criminal enterprises, right? He was deemed as extremely dangerous or potentially dangerous because he had the most people behind him, he had the youth, you know? And so what happened was, right, Mayor John Lindsay, right? It's also because of Mayor John Lindsay, since we were talking about the flags last class, that we have this flag. Um, Not that we couldn't like have made it ourselves in some kind of way. So we always had the flag once Shamgod invented it. But actually, these pins and stuff are made by Mayor John Lindsay. You know what I mean? It literally was the New York City, government, right? So Barry Gottehrer became that deputy mayor that tried to link up with the father, and he did link up with him, would drink at the bar with him and Sylvia's and talk with him. And obviously he was there with, not only just Allah, but he was there um, with justice, right? And so I was reading the comments here. That's the way it goes. So they, right? One way in and one way out. Right? First they got Ugadi. How many people know the reference I'm doing? Right? First they got Ugadi, then she walks in. But anyway, I digress, right? You get a gold star though if you know what movie reference I just did there. But anyway, so Barry Gottehrer really connected with the father, and the father, this is where the father's political education becomes really excellent because he knows exactly why he's there. And he starts to connect with Barry Gottehrer. He embraces Barry Gottehrer, and Barry Gottehrer is very enamored with him. Something that is not as spoken about in the book, because one thing I always didn't like about the Mayor's Man is that that's a history written after. So people have perspective and they kind of like manipulate the history a little bit. And they make it that they knew more or they weren't as open or anything like that. And what you realize from the book is that the father had a lot of power. Chapter 4, I believe it is literally called A Man Called Allah. And it respected the pull that he had. And he gave a pretty decent explanation of what he was teaching. I said decent. I didn't say right and exact like that, but it was decent. And so once Barry Gottehrer, he was the liaison to get the trips, the bus trips, eventually the flag made, and all of the other things that the father was doing, and eventually was the one to report positively about us, and this is why we have the school. Okay, so it's a big deal. It's a very big deal. I'm trying to unlock my phone, so I'm doing it very gently so I don't lose the mobile hotspot. All right, not important. Um, in the book, I don't know if there's anything. There really isn't anything else that you would really learn. But in retrospect, in the years since I've read that book, I'm gonna say in retrospect, it could be editors, it could be that kind of gave a more of a condescending tone toward the movements of our people. So one thing I hated about reading, because I read this book when I was a newborn, you know what I mean? The gods had it though, and I found it an actual copy. But at the time, though, Save Your Knowledge and them, they had copies where, um, they were book bound, but via spiral. So like underground publishing, basically. And that was a book that was done. So I had gotten it both ways. I don't know what happened to my spiral version, but it doesn't matter because I have the other one. One thing I hated about the way he spoke about Allah is that he spoke about him like as if like, hey, this guy thinks he's Allah himself, like he's like God, Lord of all worlds. But he spoke to him like Chris Kringle. I don't know if you ever seen Miracle on 34th Street, not like any remakes, but the original. And this movie about actual Santa Claus, right? And they say something in the movie where like, they all got love for Chris Kringle because even though he's not really Santa Claus, nobody believes it. He has a delusion for good. And he wrote about Allah just like that. Like, he thinks he's Santa Claus, but he has this delusion. But it's in the end, no, it's a delusion for good. So it was okay. And so it stayed there, kind of condescending. But then it became like kind of defaming vitriol when he spoke about like interactions with the Black Panthers and stuff. Talking about one of the Black Panthers that was killed. I'm trying to go by memory because the details he gives aren't very good either. And he says that, well, he basically was saying if they didn't have guns and things, they wouldn't have got shot. And it was just some bullshit. It was some bullshit because there's no documentation of Black Panthers shooting at anybody, just raw. So he justified a situation that is very similar, not as grand in scheme or infamous as, let's say, like the Move organization in Philly that was their own particular community, and the entire community was bombed, man, woman, and child. But he kind of justified a scenario similar to that because they were kind of dealing with things like that. And yeah, that was some bullshit though. And once I read that, the book was very difficult to finish. But when you read your books, be a finisher, or else you can't talk about it. Okay. NFAC, I don't think so. What do those letters mean? I don't know. That sounds weird. I don't know. So, Talib, about the fasting. Let's talk about the fasting a little bit. Let me just write some notes here, see what we're doing here. All right. 72-hour fast. I don't really do extended fasting like that. I really don't. I always that it's because I'm always extremely training all the time. So a fast of that nature would be detrimental. Like it really would be a problem. But I have done it. How to do it where you don't hurt yourself? First off, it sounds crazy, but you can't have fear. You have to take it like, well, I don't need the food. Also, don't take. It's not the Last Supper before you end. Like, yes, I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that. That sounds like a gang. That doesn't sound like an actual thing, like Black Panthers. But yeah, I'd like to know if you have info. I don't know. I don't know about it. Yeah, with the 72-hour fast, what you want to do though is basically, if you might want to lead up to the fast, maybe do a fast where you try for a 36-hour, a complete day, and then have a certain time where after you wake, you still have this discipline to break it. And then what you might want to do when you do the 72-hour fast, which is 3 days, what you might want to do is make sure that the third day could be a day off from work, an easy day, a lazy Sunday, something like that, if it's like that. This is not a type of fast that you're going to be doing regularly. So it's one that you could plan and get it. So, definitely not, hey, I'm going to do, I'm going to do a 72-hour fast again. You know what I mean? Like, because remember, the problem with the fast though is that depending on how the fast goes, you really are depleting muscle as well after a certain amount of time. So it's going to make you feel weak. You're not just getting rid of all the bad stuff. You're getting rid of good stuff too. Muscle, essential fats could be tapped into, you know what I mean? All those kind of things. And you lose concentration, right? So also what type of fast you're going to do. It's always a mistake to have a fast go on though, if you do a liquid fast and have it very reliant though on sugars. Okay, very reliant on sugars because they'll lose their effect and instead be depleting you of energy. All right, so that means that if you're gonna have like other liquids, like let's say you just say water and different teas, which I definitely recommend. Those teas shouldn't have any sugar in them, and that includes different types of sugars like honey and things like that. If you wanted to cheat, you could use stevia. I'll write that down. Stevia. Stevia is not really a sugar. It's a plant, and it just has the properties of sugar at an intense level, like as far as how it reacts to your taste buds, but it's not sugar at all. Very small amount. If you have a lot of vegan protein powders, that sweetness that you're tasting, like if you have Sun Warrior or a lot of the other good ones, like Amazing Grass protein powder, you're not really having sugar. There's no sugar. You're actually tasting the sweetness. You're tasting is stevia, and that's why with those type of vegan protein powders, the taste stays, the sweetness stays in your mouth for a long time. That's because it's stevia. It's different, right? All right. Yeah, I think fasting for 45 days is also takes not just discipline but a lot of stupidity. Okay, I don't, you know what I mean? I don't see the point. Alberto, it's just water. Don't know. Okay, I don't know what your comment is. Adding on to. Okay, Supreme Freedom. I just wrapped up a 3-day fast on Monday. I was wondering if I could drink hot tea with no sugar during my water fast. You do it the way that you feel is right. I'm not one for like, again, juices, and I mean what I mean by juices is like Tropicana and stuff like that. Pasteurized juices are basically sugar. Okay. You don't need to add sugar to a pasteurized juice because when you heat flash it, all of the enzymes become sugars. That's why Tropicana orange juice is thicker, okay, than like a freshly squeezed orange juice, for example. But a 45-day fast, though, like, is very detrimental because now your body has lost its ability to actually eat. How functional was he during the days? What was he doing? It's clearly an ascetic, more ritualized feat than anything else. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm really not very impressed by that. You know what I mean? Alberto Alamo, tell me something about yourself, because you said is fasting requested. I don't know who you are, so I don't know, where you would be requesting. Requesting who? Requesting what? Let me know who you are, right? Right. I don't know what you know, who you think you're building with, or anything like that. Or, like, let's assume you walked into this classroom and I don't know you. So what would I do? Okay. We try to make the digital cipher as realistic as possible. So, right? So that you, the digital student, have it in your head to go above and beyond, though, and show and prove that you are, okay, Alberto, I get what you're trying to say. I want to know required of whom. I don't know you, so I have no requirements for you. I don't know you. You know what I mean? You literally stepped into my classroom. I have zero requirements of you. There is nothing. Okay, I have nothing to say to you. I have nothing to make you do anything, because it's really what you tell me who you are, and what you and ask me what you need to know of me, and then I can help you. Right. Done under a doctor's supervision, though. I don't know of any doctor that would say fast for 45 days. Okay, I've never seen that protocol. Now you'll see that protocol, though, if it's one of those, Queen of Fua / whatever, and this is why a lot of those books and a lot of that I never really go with, because I find it totally irresponsible. You know what I mean? Real quick, my vantage point, health protocol. If you're not equipped to fight and defend yourself at any moment while you're outside, then that means that your diet is incorrect. And that also means the type of fasting you're doing is incorrect. Okay? If you're fasting for days straight, and I'm doing a 10-day fast, though, and you're weak as a noodle. It's weak as a noodle. You have no thoughts, no ideas, though. You're hallucinating. You think you're building, and no one gets you. And your only excuse is that they're all 85ers. They don't understand me. That fasting is crap. That fasting is crap. And they have a lot of scales. I have one too that measure your muscle mass and your fat content. And they give a general, depending on the scale you have, they'll give you a good measurement. That'll give you some insight. Go fast for 10 days and then go see not just your fat content and your weight, but look at your muscle mass and how everything is just, depleted. Now, you could fast with just water, or you could fast with just teas, or you could fast with juice. And I mean freshly squeezed juice and things like that. It's all dependent upon you and the development that you want to take, okay? A lot of the elders, when they started, they were fasting with coffee and all kinds of other stuff, which means that they were putting sugar in the coffee and all that, all right? The 3-day fast is a beginner for discipline. Me personally, though, I expect you to fast, but I am more intent but I can't be there. I can't be there to prove whether you fasted. So it's not really as relevant to me to say, hey, did you do a 3-day fast? It's really for the inside of discipline, to see if you could do that, to see if you have that strength. But a regular 3-day fasting, like, let's say every month and stuff, if that's how you want to go, you know what I'm saying? I think fasting is also something to gauge the body if you want to use it as a health tool. Sun God. Okay, peace God. I knew you was talking like I knew you, and I was like, who's Alberto? Yeah, peace, Sun God. Yeah, it is something to do. I did the 3-day fast, though, but I didn't even do it like in the beginning. I just did it when I felt like it. But I was shown to prove it in other ways, though. You know what I'm saying? And you should do it. But remember, look at the cipher that was a little bit different. The cipher of the gods of that. Yeah, the students you taught were the people that you lived with. You was with them. You was in the hood with them. So it's different. Like for example, with my students, they're all around the world, and more immediately all the 5 boroughs, and I'm not always around all of them. So their fasting is up to them. And I find it to be a wasteful thing if you do that 3-day fast, but then now you don't incorporate fasting as a health tool in the proper way. So, that's important. Talib, brothers Tamari, Myra. Okay, wise teacher. Okay, that's peace. That's peace. I'm glad you let me know. That's peace. Right? Knowledge Allah. The Ramadan fast, yeah. Could lead to a lot of gluttony, by the way, the Ramadan fast, because it's like you only eat at night and stuff, and you just be ready to wolf down everything and just beast, Knowledge Born, are you asking me about an example of a build for today's math? Okay, I usually wait a little bit.
Just messing with you.
Okay. Okay, I'm just trying to copy and paste something into the notes here. All right. Yeah, you want to taper that, you know what I mean? Like a lot of the discipline of the fast is how you eat after. A lot of times that happens a lot where you think I actually have a small threshold for eating after the fast. So I'm always a lot hungrier than what I could take. So what I do is I don't eat with my feelings. I eat with a little bit, and then I slowly, gradually move up. Because what'll happen is I eat what I really would like to eat, and that would just settle badly, Right. Let me see if I missed something here. Yeah, so Sangha, it is required. Like you do set, especially if you have that relationship with your enlightener, it is required to have that 3-day fast and stuff. But I would say it would be great to have it as a health tool. You know what I'm saying? Uh, you have to know how to fast as a health tool. Um, and I by the way, I fluctuate because I train heavily. I fluctuate between 36-hour fast every week, and now that I'm training in different ways and I'm gaining more weight. The right way. I don't do that sloppy bulk, whatever they call it, though. I just eat more healthy stuff. I end up just doing 2 intermittent fasts a week at the very least, So an intermittent fast, right? Intermittent fast is usually 16 hour fast and 8-hour eating window. So if you do it once, if you did it once a week, it's very easy because once you finish eating, you just eat the next, maybe early in the afternoon, then you would eat again the very next day, and you could eat in the morning and stuff, right? Because with the intermittent fasting, though, sleep, helps you, use up most of the time, right? Saladin said, peace, knowledge, right? 1, awareness of 7 God. And self by itself is not enough. What will you do, build with that awareness? Very interesting. Very interesting question. Very interesting question. All right. Yeah, with the intermittent fasting, it's basically 8 hours of eating, an 8 hour window for eating, and then 16-hour fast. That's the general intermittent fast, you know? And they can be helpful to burn fat, but then not leak into the muscle. You know, where you go past a certain threshold was the idea that if you go past a certain threshold of fasting, you know, you start to lose weight. You start to also lose some of your muscle mass. Okay, that'll work, Supreme Freedom. Yeah. And again, if you did it, that's peace. That's a great achievement, Supreme Freedom. You know, I'm a writer, so when I did my 3 day fast, I definitely was like, I gotta stay home and write all this craziness that I was seeing and thinking. You know, so I'd never done it before, and you know, by the second night, I was out with the Gottehrer son, and you know, I was acting like him. So you already know I was like seeing all types of, you know, like ghost face. I was having crazy visions. You know what I mean? But definitely an experience. What is the benefits of fasting regularly? So that way you have the discipline, though, to actually eat better, right? The reason people eat lousy is because they have the excuse that there isn't good options. When you know how to fast, the real benefit is not that you just fast at will and say, I'm going to fast tomorrow, things like that, but you can fast from bad choices and suffer the consequences of not eating. That means that if something is not good enough for you to eat, then you just don't eat. And now you are immediately in an involuntary position of having to fast because you have willed it. You have decided, like, listen, these options here are all that we have to eat. No, there's no pork or anything like that, but it is not good enough for me. Because out of everything that you love, right? Just remember this about food. Out of everything that you might love. If you have an earth, you might love your earth. If you have your children, you definitely love your children. You can't eat and swallow any of that, right? You can't bring them inside your body and keep them there forever, right? But that bullshit bag of potato chips, right? That cake, those cookies, the sodas, you're gonna walk around with that, and you're gonna expect that. You actually expect it not to do anything for you, but you're hoping that it doesn't do too much bad to you. Think about it for a minute. We go have a treat, right? We have something that seems like a treat. All that we can do is hope that it doesn't do too much bad in our body. Because it's not like you drink Coca-Cola and say, yeah, I think after this, I definitely can bench that. You know, I definitely got these 30 pull-ups here. You know, hold on, let me finish this Coca-Cola here. I definitely got, you know what I mean? Like nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that. You know? So think about that. The idea is that you would really, you know, we always say we treat the body like a temple, blah, blah, fucking blah. Nobody is really doing that. So we have to rethink our diets. The fasting is the beginning of going into the diet. And the mentality is what I want you to understand first. Fasting, what by clearing out the body, now you can start to do one exercise once you start eating again. Okay, and this is for Supreme Freedom because he's the only one here that says done the 3 day fast. I know. Once you do a 3 day fast, right? Or if you do a fast that was really hard, right? or you felt like you really cleaned out. Like maybe you had bowel movements, right? Sometimes you do a fast and you have bowel movements all the way to the end, like even near the end. And that's a great thing. It means you're clearing out. Well, now the thing is the mentality of the diet, what I write in the protocol. Now everything that you eat, though, I don't care how quality it is or how lack of quality, I want you to feel and be in the moment and feel exactly what it feels like going into the body. You have cleared out your body as best as you could. So now the feelings that you get from that food is most likely from that food. And not something else that was still in there, not a mix of something else, not something you had before, right? And mind you, you know, there are delays in things, right? There are foods that I am allergic to, and if I have them by accident, they would deplete me for a whole week. Um, so the lasting power of a negative food is quite lasting, and that's where the fasting comes to benefit, because once you fast, you can start to really gauge the quality feel, the feeling of you can gauge the quality of feel with each new food that you start to eat. Is this food, they say it's healthy enough, but it's not giving me the effect that I want. You know what I mean? Maybe it's something in there. No, maybe it's just not for me. And then now you can figure out, well, what is in this food? What is the thing that is not for me? You know? Yeah. Well, yeah, when you know when your stomach is less active, you know, because don't forget, for a lot of yous, when you fast, your stomach is still actually very active. Okay. In fact, you should be very engaged in getting them bowel movements out. You should be really working on clearing out. And that's why I love a water fast. And I like having tea during the water fast, because a lot of teas are diuretic, you know, the green teas, you know, try these great teas, and you might even stepping away from the sugar and then having these teas, you might be able to change your palate for this stuff, you know, and start to have a better palate. And that's the whole point of what I've been trying to say, right? And that's great, Sun God. You stop the tang. Tang is like that's some nuclear shit right there. You know what I mean? Like crazy. You know what I mean? Crazy. You know? That's the hood shit. Tang, you know what I mean? Fiber. Oh, particularly for fiber, I don't really have that problem. I'm actually in the opposite end of the spectrum, you know. Um, Even when I have if I have something that I'm allergic to, my body tends to purge. But as far as fiber, the natural fiber, like if you buy fiber, you know, let's start from like the medicinal level, and then we'll go into foods. If you buy it medicinally, um, most of the fiber you're gonna buy is really psyllium husk. You know, so if you just buy it by itself, which you can, like in vitamin shop and things, that's very good. It'll work. Um, the teas definitely. I don't really function. My body functions great once I have that tea. You know what I'm saying? Also, too, I'm gonna keep it real. I do. I do my training in the mornings. You know what I mean? And the minute movement causes bowel movements. So a combination of teas and movement will cause my bowel movements. You know what I mean? So that's important, the fiber aspect. I know I missed some questions here, but that was just, I ended up looking and I saw that. I wouldn't do a 3-day fast more than once a month. It's really not necessary. You know what I mean? I would want you to really be engaging in eating the best foods that you can. And really, you know, it's more important what you fast from as opposed to fasting. You know, the former is more frequent than the latter. Uh, Talib said, having the sense of knowing the difference between power and refinement, having a power to restrict yourself from certain things, and refining the things that you do in your everyday affairs. All right. I'm worried about your application of power refinement. Refinement is something I don't teach anymore because it gets mistaught too much and it's too close to culture, because the language of 120 lessons has culture in it. Refinement in 120 lessons, like today's degree, that word means culturing. It's a synonym, okay? And what happens a lot though is that there's an improper thing there. Like, you see what you did there when you said you have to, the difference between power and refinement. There isn't supposed to be, the focal point of what power is in the supreme math is so important that there can't be an opposite to that. Okay? In other words, you can't have your power extending itself and then say, well, then the opposite would be that I'm refining. Okay? Um, here's why, because that degree is not an internal degree. Okay? It is not a developmental degree. Okay? Power is after you live out your culture, it reveals its power. You have no choice. Okay? There is no choice. There is 1, 2, and 3 happening internally, the inner. Okay? Then there is 4, 5, 6, and that is the outer. But if the culture is the understanding that we live, right? If the culture is the understanding that we live, then there is no way to funnel, filter, um, redirect internally that power. Okay? There's no way, because the power that you give out of your culture is already out. Okay? That's like if I released a book and then I bring it back in. I've already released a book. Like, that energy's already out there. Okay? These writings are out there, you know? So when you say knowing the difference between power refinement, having a power to restrict yourself and refining things, the power is all of the ability. Okay, the power is the influence on yourself, and it either focuses the energy or it lets loose the energy. So when you use refinement, it has to be in the vein of focus. It cannot be in the vein of culturing, because then you're stepping back. You can't step back in mathematics. Okay. And this is why I don't teach refinement in it, because it's too much confusion with that. You know, if you use refinement in your degrees, then I'm gonna tell you this like I'm telling you now. But that's why I don't, because it's been too difficult to teach. And it's mainly because no matter what I would be able to do, I can't change the dialect intention that is in 120. It's too late. We don't change 120 soon. That's what it is. All right. I hope that made some kind of sense. Speaking of fasting as well, the relevance of books. Do we still follow how to eat? When I was born, you shouldn't follow anything. You shouldn't follow a book. You know what I mean? I mean, we know, we can't follow how to eat to live 1 and 2. If that, you just be eating navy beans all day. It's not like he gave like a protocol. You know what I mean? What you would follow in how to eat to live, though, is the suggestions of, I think, that are universal, are the nature, focusing on the nature by which you eat, always trying to add educational proofs and knowledge that show and prove the best way for you to eat, the calm way to eat, mindfulness while you're eating. That's not said in there. I'm using that word, mindfulness, but that's really what he was talking about. So the nature by which you eat is very important. You know what I mean? Very important. You know, that's something that Elijah, really went into. You know, so definitely read those books. But like I said, all health books, not all of every health book. That doesn't make sense, but nearly every health book that's ever written is gonna have something that's outdated, and certainly outdated via, it could be updated like add-ons and stuff. And How to Eat to Live is definitely a casualty of that. Okay. Okay, did mine earlier in the year. I had to sleep. Okay, that's good. That's interesting. 793rd. It's also where a journal comes into play too. Sometimes you want to write down how it feels and stuff. Yeah, Sunny Delight. If you guys are drinking Tang and Sunny Delight, though, just cash in your chips with the white man. Okay, is that good enough for you? Would that get you off it? Like, just cash in your chips and say, "Listen, white man, my body belongs to you. I am your whore, white man. If you're still drinking Kool-Aid and Tang, come on. Let's just yeah, let's just get just give it all up. Just give up. Surrender. Just go to the nearest police precinct and say, listen, I give up. Okay. All right. Jamie Jam says he sees today's mathematics as knowledge God. Purposeful introspection will shine light on what needs to be built. So that means that purposeful introspection, interesting, the 1 and the 7, because the introspection is on you. So do you realize that you use one word to define knowledge God? Introspection. It's a superstar right there. Salute, Jamie Jam. You realize what you did there? It's really great. Introspection literally means knowledge God. You look back into yourself. You knowledge yourself, right? It's great work there. I love the right word used with something. It's just excellent. Excellent. I love words. Purposeful introspection will shine light on what needs to be built or destroyed, from example, one's diet. Yeah, excellent point. Excellent. All right. Malik Lowe, peace God. I can bear witness to the sensation of food after eat. Then after my pneumonia, I really feel everything. It was making my body sweat or shiver. It's telling you something, and it's great because it means also that the healthier the foods you put in there, then you're going to feel that too. I'm saying, think about it. Well, you're worried about these foods are feeling really bad when I eat them, but now when you eat these right foods, you're going to have the same effect. It's going to be great. Okay. Would refine be supplementary to power? I've always said it was supplementary when I was building with it. Again, I stopped using it because it became more difficult. But it is a supplement technically because it was added and it was allowed by the father, but it's not really in everybody's degrees. It's not refinement. It's not a universal mathematics. It's not universal. It's not everybody's mathematics. Okay. That's just a fact. There's no way around that. It's not everybody's mathematics. So if you have it, it's supplemental. So how do you do it where it doesn't mean culture and it actually furthers, and it cannot be an option. You cannot decide my culture will power itself or it will refine. Well, the action is outside of you. So if you're refining something outside of you, that's still, you're powering something in some way and you decided. So good, you didn't blitz the world with your culture, but it's out there. You don't have the opportunity to rewind it and then refine it and culture it. It's out there. It's already outside. Right? You live your understanding. That's culture. When you live your culture, how could you take back the things that you lived? Right? It's impossible. So therein lies the fault with that. Oh man, I pressed the wrong button here.
I saw you with somebody in here.
Yeah, it's only me, so I'm just building with the students online. I'm sounding crazy to the older guy. Okay, now we built on the fasting. All right. Does anybody have any questions about that? And also the things about power, right? and it could have many questions. If you don't have a question now, that's fine. If you have questions about it later, please, and also ask me. If you don't have my Supreme Mathematics build, I'll share it with you, so that way you can see some of the history of mathematics, my unique understanding, and also the reasoning why I used to use it. I don't officially, you know. So many of my students still have refinement. I don't tell them to take it out. Okay, they're building and they have, but these could be like wonderful philosophical arguments. It's not really arguments um, to cut off heads and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And many of the reasons that, let's say, brothers out in Medina try to act tough, uh, and say it's not in there, blah blah blah, rah rah. Their reasons are corny to me, so it's not even that. So. Because okay, so I see I got some emails. That's peace. Okay, let's see where I am. I don't know where I am. All right. Now we talked about books before, and I wanted to highlight a book though that is very important to me, but might be useful to you, and to see some of the reality and why it's useful might help. And just because I like to talk about books, I want to get you into books more. Jesus Christ. Why do you want to know about Jesus Christ? I don't know if I know any books offhand. I'm forgetting the name of this book. It's very interesting. But let me see if I could write down a name and then get it. I think I had the title wrong, so maybe I could get it right. There we go. Damn, I have a book about Jesus though, but I don't remember the name, so I can't really reference it if I don't remember the title of the book. I got to get back to you on that. Damn it. I don't know if James Allen was writing about the history of Jesus though. Yeah, he might have been writing about. He was mainly writing about the, ideas and stuff. Hold on a minute. Yeah, that I'm sure I have the name right, but it's not. Damn. And this is what I was talking about, like books going out of print, and then yeah, there's some books out there, but I can't. I gotta look through them though to see the quality of the books, because the one that I remember, I can't get the name right in my head, and it's not lending. Search engines are not helping me. James Allen's books, like As a Man Thinketh and stuff, are really about principles and ideas, not really about Jesus Christ. They're not archaeological or anthropological, which is what I'm assuming that Sun God is talking about. Right? Uh, Wise you said today's math is knowledge God. Born, build, to destroy, knowing how to water crops and the levels of pH and how much water to give them, and add on proper nutrients for proper stages of growth. Interesting. And take away unclean or unbalanced water by using rainwater water as the best source for plant growth. What would be the God aspect of that? I do know about that book, LT. I know of it. I've never really read it, so I don't know. Yeah. I think some of the best books to read about, if I was going to start to, about religion in general, would be the way I would go, as opposed to books about Jesus Christ. And trying to get the picture so I could throw it in there. This would be the book that I would certainly deal with, by um, Dr. Ben Yakinen. Because what you want to see is the reality of the religion. Though Jesus Christ's history is really, like, in the grand scheme of things, is really just a factor in the religion, an aspect of the religion. His reality, his use is more important than his possible biographical reality, right? Because what you're going to get mostly is hagiography, right? I won't look that up. You look that up, okay? But definitely would check into that book. The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus Christ. You can't really say that title without saying it like some superhero shit, right? I wonder if yeah. And again, look, I don't know about this book, but then now you have to see the source material and things like that. Like, what are their source materials and things like that? How do they judge it and stuff? So, how do you fact check a book like that? You know what I mean? And how is their nature of scholarship? All things to consider when you look at books like that. Okay, I don't know that book, so I'm not saying. I'm reading a comment wise you. No, 7 is to know the proper use of that rain water. Okay, you are the controller of the plant's proper life. Okay, I no, I get where you're going with it. I do. Right. Hmm. There's an awkwardness to it, though, as you. Right? It's not a truthful statement, but related to mathematics and what God would be, and what knowledge is, and what God would be. There's an awkwardness to it, right? In the statement is relating it to the math, but that's right. But, All right, all right, all right. Peace. If people want to do more research into diet and nutrition, there's really only a few things that go into it. Do the analysis of macronutrients, trace minerals. James, you said like macronutrients, trace minerals are easy for everyone to diagnose. I would think that's a little bit, even that could be hard for certain people, you know, because how many of us look at a plate of food and know and identify the meal? Obviously, we identify the food, but then would know this has. What's most important is first identifying to me before you do micronutrients and all that trace mineral stuff, because that's not really the main reasons that you indulge in a particular food. Is identifying the proteins, the fats, and the carbohydrates. That's the first exercise. And then you can see, is it a quality protein? Uh, is it a complex carbohydrate versus simple, right? And is it a quality fat? And even then, before that identification, right? Um, even before those identifications, you're trying to identify whether it's a living food, right? Live food versus, just a processed food, or what processed agents went into this live meal, right? Condiments and things of that nature, right? So there's some steps before we get into like macro, micro, and trace minerals, you know what I mean? Right? The LT Station, I definitely will check for that book, okay? Speaks of him going to schools. But again, the source material, like what's the reference material to say that he did go to school? That, like how do you show and prove Jesus existed? That would be the first thing, like, right? If anything, that would just be hagiography of some kind, right? Okay, right. Well, if you have that website, share it. People that dive into it themselves, see what we get, right? No matter what, though, whatever food we eat, though, we're gonna have to be able to identify whether it's a protein, what's the protein in it, complex carbohydrates or not, the quality of the fat, and we're also gonna have to see if it's a living food versus a processed food. Once you do these kind of things, you start to become more aware of the possibilities of the usefulness of the food that you eat. Okay, yeah, it's not just total fail, right? Okay, this book is. I want to talk. I mentioned a book. I'm going to start mentioning a book every class. It's usually a class that I go into. Interesting, Calm Islami. You mean the Aquarius one, Calm Islamly? The Aquarius, the gospel one that was mentioned, which I think I'm already saying wrong. Now, today's degree, right? The meaning of civilization, one having knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture, refinement, right? And is not a savage in the pursuit of happiness, right? Once we see this degree, once we see degrees of this nature, when we get to this package here, 17, really 17, 18, 19, 20, right? We're getting into this idea of articulating, putting into words what civilization is, what civility is toward each fellow man, and what being civil for self would be. What is a civil person? What is a civilized person, I should say, right? So there's all thoughts about how that works out. And if you really take a look at it, it also means that the way that you present yourself as a civilized person has a great impact on people around you. Okay. And if we talked about right before the nature of people, the 5, 10, and the 85, then we're also realizing that it's the level of civilization that is presented, whether through veil, false veil of the 10%, through repressed and suppressed control like the 85, or if it's a sincere living reality as it is with the 5, then the details of civilization. What is the impact of being civil? All and especially when it could be falsified, right? These are all things to think about. And I always tell all of you, especially the gods, you have to think daily like a king. Okay? Even if you're the queen, right? You have to knowledge as God. In other words, you have to understand the knowledge, the way knowledge God works. The way knowledge works with God is how you will build. So even they are acknowledging God. You are living as a king, then you are what? Knowledge of yourself and the knowledge of the people and knowing the way to deal with humanity. These are all things that have to be studied. And there is no, we don't have to reinvent the wheel in many respects. The original people throughout time have written many things, though, and many of those greatest works survive from many of the Asian ancient texts, particularly Chinese, especially. And many, because of the martial arts being part of my life and being part of the life as God, when we got knowledge of self, this was the way I was taught, was part of our lifestyle. This was part of the life. And that's how I learned it. So reading these ancient texts, though, and realizing that in many of the ancient texts, though, the truths of man being God, the truths of guiding a society as that God, the truth that the civility of the individual impacts the civility of all, is also something that is also said in these ancient texts. And that is something that is led by the works of Confucius. That's why Confucius is so important. In fact, many of the things that Confucius said are very similar to things that the Father said. Okay, very similar. You know, it's intriguingly similar. Okay, just looking at these comments. That's every day, Chad. What you talking about? It's every day. Every day. I didn't even show you this. I got everything: the jeans, pants, right? 100%. And even my track shoes is polo, right? But Khan Islami said civilization is having, okay, thank you for that. Yes, sir. Civilization is having the knowledge of God and using that to build your culture. 1,000. I'd like to see how you equate that as the culture, right? Not just because of the actual facts, but you know, right? How do you equate that with the culture? It's a good question to follow up with yourself. Because everything is messed up in this thing, right? Okay, so the book I want to talk about, it's a very short book. And if anybody wants it, I could give it to you. It's called The Great Learning by Confucius. And it has some quotes here. I read this every year because The Great Learning is also an important book for any of you that are really living out that reality of being a teacher outside. You know, once you get this 120 and you're out there building and stuff, this is a very important book. Among many from Confucius. The Analects and all the works of Confucius are great and to me necessary reads for any serious reader. Trying to find a spot. But one of the things that Confucius influences in a lot of the Taoist writings and a lot of the Buddhist writings is this idea of succession, this idea of the impact of one to the few, the few to the group, the group to the groups, the groups to the society to the states to the country, and the country to the world. See how he did that? Many of the writings are in that nature. There's a great emphasis on the snowball effect of the leader, and this is something to think about. When we think about, like, for example, with Trump, why he is especially effective devil. We try to say that they're all the same, but that's not good analysis. It's like watching basketball and you're saying that they're all the same. Everybody is different. Every great player is different. You know what I mean? You'd be making a mistake to analyze people and things in such a superficial nature, and that would go from analyzing devils out there to anything else, right? But an example of that. Trying to find an example of that. So I specifically want to talk about how it goes to today's degree, right? And that idea of the civility of things, right? And how it extends. You don't really see it though in the knowledge God degree, because it's basically telling what is the meaning of civilization, but it's very subtle in there. It seems like bad grammar, but it tells you the answer is not answering directly civilization. It answers what one having civilization is, right? Which is completely grammatically just terrible, right? So meaning of civilization is one having knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture, refinement, not established in pursuit of happiness. So you have civilization. It also, if we look at it as God, in many respects, we will have civilization because we guide civilization by the way that we act. And this is something that is very much in the Confucian works, and also in this great learning. For example, he says, never has there been a case of the sovereign loving benevolence and the people not loving righteousness. Never has there been a case where the people have loved righteousness and the affairs of the sovereign have not been carried to completion. And never has there been a case where the wealth in such a state, collected in the treasures and arsenals, did not continue in the sovereign's possession. This is what that means, right? Okay, for those that like, the word sovereign just means ruler, okay? All right. And that'll be like the hardest word there. But basically, if never has there been a case of the ruler, I'll just put an easier word, loving benevolence, goodness, righteousness, right? The goodness of things, and the people not loving righteousness. Righteousness is an active word. You have to actually do things to be righteous. It's a nature of being that way. So it's basically in the Confucian way of thinking, when the leader conforms to a certain way, the people will follow that way. So it basically deals with this concept of the 5 to the 85. And that's why it's so important, a concept. Never has there been a case where the people have loved righteousness and the affairs of the sovereign have not been carried to completion. And that also means that when the people have come to love the righteousness that the ruler exudes, then that means that the things that he wills that are righteous, that are good for the people and ought to be done, they always are fulfilled, you know? And what does this mean? The meaning of civilization means the way that you comport yourself, the way that you are, is going to carry over to everything around you. And if you don't think about it like that, then you're not looking at your culture as something that is automatically having power. And that's why I went into the thing about power refinement. It's out there. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Common Islamic's teaching is primarily via verbal testimony, which is related to sound manners to the bewilderment and when he builds on mathematics. Okay. Okay. All right. Good answer. Good answer. Good answer. I like that. You brothers are sharp. I'm asking you about your builds, and you're expounding on them and making sense, and it's good stuff. All right. So in this, it's the book is 11 pages. It's really short. Um, a lot of these concepts about the way to learn, the way leadership impacts, um, and how the people are affected with things, and also the concepts of the superior man and the one who lives the way, and then the what they call the way of the mean, and then the one who just wants to be known as one who lives the way but is insincere, and he calls that the mean man. Okay. um since we're on this book, a jewel to remember: what truly is within will be manifested without. Okay. Therefore the superior man must be watchful over himself when he is alone. Okay. In other words, you, God, are always acknowledging yourself, because these are the keys to how you will build and destroy. Right. Of course, when you're alone, no. It's when our word is bond, no, as fledgling students, is most corrupt. Right. Ace Boogie. All right. Okay, this is email me, Ace Boogie. Let me know about you. All right. That way we can build. And there's a lot of brothers out there in Chicago, right? A lot of brothers out there. Right? I edited Allah Jihad's book, The Immortal Birth, and he's out there in Chicago, right? The MGM, right? The MGM is right. All right. Peace, Gregory. Right. But all right, where are we at? Also, don't forget the 5% media. I write a column inspired by the class, not always seemingly about, it doesn't really, I wouldn't say it recaps the session, but it is just insights inspired from it. Yeah, I just put it Sunez97 at Gmail. Look up in the thing, Ace Boogie. Right. Okay, you could go there. Talib Uh, yeah, DBO89. Yeah, there's a book. You got to email me, right? You got to email me for the beginner booklets for the class and the materials, okay? That means you haven't emailed me. You guys come into class and not getting the curriculum and the materials. Peace to God, self-magnetic. Talib said, being that safety and security in one's own community, having integrity, being an example for all to behold, becoming an asset. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? By the way, this is what also Musa was teaching him, right? How to build homes for themselves. What Talib said is what Musa taught them. That's how they were able to get into society, right? Just to put it on that there's a negative bent to certain things too, right? Let me get my glasses on. Tired of looking at the computer so closely. So now the assignment that I had given, the very complex assignment, right? Where I grouped everything in 3 brackets, right? So you have the month, right? You have the month of single digit days. Then you have the teens, and then you have the wisdom cipher days, right? So you have your single digits, you have your teens, and then you have your 20s, right? The single digit days are to really see in your daily life as you have it right now. When you look at knowledge, when you look at wisdom, when you look at understanding, when you look at culture, what is the definition for you that you live out the most? In other words, like when you're outside and you're living and you think about mathematics, so what is the reality of understanding in your life expressed as the most? How, what's the most that you could express it as, right? Um, with and you would have that for those single digits, right? Maybe, and it could take your own creativity. When you reach build, what is the most important build that you have been prioritizing, the thing that you've worked hardest on? Doesn't mean that it's the only thing or that it's by itself in a vacuum, because that's not how people live. But what is it? Like maybe you could focus on that. Why is it the most priority? Then in the teens, you go through each one again, each principle, and say, what could be the most important knowledge that I could add to this principle of degree that I have defined and the way I've defined it in the single digit days, right? What would it be? And then if you don't have it, you go get it. And once we reach the wisdom ciphers, right, then you look at your tools. Look at wisdom as tools, what you're using. For that principle that I defined in the single digit days, what is the tool that, for say, the way I see equality, what is the tool that I use that I don't have or I need or that I am getting the most out of? It could be a positive or it could be realizing what is missing. So it depends on how you define it, right? But that's another thing, right? So that assignment, though, is something that is very difficult to do, you know, and it's really a project for yourself, you know, to see the diversity and the intricacies of mathematics. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot out, not like do the whole month, But I'm going to plot out the assignment as a plus lesson because just explaining the assignment could give insight. You know what I mean? I got to do that though. I haven't done that yet. You know, so I'm a plus lesson I could give out to all of you, as we go along. Right? Okay, so we talked about the great learning. All books that I have. So if you're interested and you wanted it, just let me know. But the Great Learning, particularly, is a book that I read at least once every year. And being that it's 11 pages, it shouldn't, it shouldn't be a problem that I actually read it, once every year. You know. All right, Mrs. G once said, "Peace. One having knowledge of self is the primary foundation to elevate and support oneself as the manifestation of supreme intelligence, able to create with the wisdom to act and the strength to build." Okay. Added some degrees in there in the build for knowledge, right? I added wisdom and stuff. Some of the difficulty is that in your statements, when you say it as a build of the day's math, you don't want to add in other degrees, though, even though the statement that you said is not incorrect. You know what I mean? You don't always want to add other builds. And 793, that is exactly the intention. I want to get you all to write in your journals more and have that personal journal. Feel the need that you have to write in a journal. Peace, guys. Peace to the God.
Peace.
All right. But okay, just any questions about anything? Books that you're reading, anything like that? Let me know. Let me know. Boy. My build on knowledge God, I had some questions of perspective. And I actually didn't have enough time to flesh out those oddities and stuff. But that's not really the build. But just let me know, because in a journal I play around with ideas and stuff, But knowledge God, all being born to build, right? Our daily life is to actually build at all times. We're creators. What that statement literally says then, if we take build as creating, being able to universally change the world with what we create, it means that just the idea of us in detail, knowledge God, the idea of God, each particular aspect of truth of God, each particular aspect of you that you learn allows you, once it is knowledge, allows you to build and destroy. And that means this: to be creators and reach the point where your creations build or destroy, much of it relies on you learning more and more facets of yourself, because every single creation that is ever made will have a facet of the creator in it. The more that you knowledge God, the more that you knowledge yourself, the more in position you are to build or destroy. Literally, everything that you create will be able to change things, right? And in this case, what we mean by change is really an effect upon the world, okay? So what was once there is no longer there, this wonderful effect of our what? Our creations. So the more that you learn of yourself, the more that you learn of being a creator and being able to create and be able to have these creations affect all things, and becomes full circle. Every single creation, as I said, um, has a facet of the creator in it. Every single one. Right. Absolutely 793rd. Yeah, because I wanted. If you notice, a lot of the homework assignments, right, are meant to be functional. And Talib, do not give me. I hope that emails for other people. I don't take down people's emails. Okay, you got to email me. All right, because there's no way, with the amount of emails I get, that I would remember or have time to make a log of who to email. You know. And if that happens with people, that's why there's a big delay. That's why I don't get it out to you fast. Whatever it is, I'm trying to. Okay, my email is the only place I could take the time to look into it. I can't look into all these other things. Um, did everybody get my build? What I was saying? I hope that all made sense, though. You know what I mean? Okay, that one here. Sense so. If everyone was in the classroom right now, I would love to know what everybody is actually reading. I don't get too many updates of what people are reading, so let me know. All right. Raw by You God. Yeah, You God. A lot of opinions in there, right? Apparently, he did a lot more than what's logical. Claude Anderson, good stuff. Message the Black Man, necessary work, right? By the way, I did read Raw by You God. I did read it. Sounded like I was knocking on the door of Build to be born. Well, they all go into each other, right? And isn't that the direction, right? Behold a pale horse, though. Ace Boogie, be careful right? That you don't run for the hills and run away from the white man after you read that. Okay. Um, I always prefer people to read things about them about themselves, as opposed to books about the other man and what the other man is planning. And be very careful, though. You know, put a large measure of superiority in the reality of the oppressor. The Complete Kama Sutra, translated by Elaine Danlu. Interesting. Okay. Encyclopedia of Herbal Medicine. Wow, Submagnet, you reading the whole thing like that? Good stuff. Good stuff. Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. Am I getting it right? Excellent book. Excellent. This is good stuff. You're all reading great. If anybody wants some of the books that are mentioned, though, I do have most of them. So, you know. What book by Knowledge Born? What book by Claude Anderson are you reading particularly? Okay. A Black History reader. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. And one of the key places in your journal, key uses of your journal can be to write about these books that you're reading, though. The ideas that you have, the questions, the the opinions, the agreements and the disagreements. And it could be about anything, whether they're the smallest disagreements of grammar and punctuation to anything else, you know. You get used to, and also get used to disagreeing or agreeing with someone in your writing as if you were talking to them. This will perfect your voice, right? And it also will show you, your limitations as a writer. If you see your limitations as a writer, though, then you'll be able to see how you can do, right? To first become a writer of any respect, you have to first be able to say everything that you think. If you have the ability to say everything that you think, um, then the next goal is to think better and think deeper and think more profoundly, right? So all that merits work and stuff. It needs work, right? Mm. All right. Checking how you do, measuring how you influence and develop via your contacts within your reality, impact by less removing what may lead towards savagery and regal nature with poison loyalty. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. Just updating the notes here so everything. Good stuff. A bit of face value. That's a good question. Is there a bit of face value with understanding? I would say so. I would say so because not technically, but realistically, this is what happens. This is what happens because we're trying to take in as much information as we can. You know, and we could always judge the information incorrectly. You know what I mean? Or without complete proofs. You know? Yeah, like you said. And until he reaches destination, one can only go by reference points in order to know they're moving in the right direction. In many respects, yeah. hmm hmm Yeah, the four agreements is exactly that. It's simple, but it's very practical. And sometimes it's good to read books like that. You know what I mean? And again, if anybody wants that book and they would like to read it, I have that book as well. I have a lot of works from that author. Okay, if anybody has any questions, we have a half hour left. So I want to leave it open to what people want to say. We built on the day's math, we built on the day's degree, a lot of health topics and stuff. And I mentioned lots of the book. There was a lot of things we covered. Um, so with the use of me rambling and stuff, I just want to see what people would like to know, and where they would like to go. Yeah, so it looks like my agenda. I definitely have to fix the 50 book list. Okay. Books to become a better writer. They're absolutely not, in my opinion. Open up a book, How to Become a Better Writer, and then you read it, and then you're a better writer. I have not read that. Um, I learned to be a writer by writing and reading intensely, and then learning the voices. That's why with the journal, writing in the voices back to the author. You read Ivan Van Sertima's book. You've seen Ivan Van Sertima lectures. Read his books, and you agree, disagree, comment with him in your journal as if you were speaking to him in the classroom as as a scholar, So um, these are the things that developed a writer. Um, Experimenting, having forums, um, writing your thoughts consistently. Also having a blog too, because it gives you the pressure, and hopefully you would take it that way and not just use it loosely, of writing something quality consistently. What makes a great writer initially is being able to articulate his understanding. If he has no understanding, no, he's a shitty writer no matter what. It doesn't matter. And then now it's about putting the understanding in all its formats and how creative they can get, how special they would be able to write, all of these things. Um, when you want to read ideas about writing, I find personally the most intriguing is usually reading uh, commentaries from writers that are really great. That would be where I would begin. Um, but really reading a diverse amount of literature. The more most of us read, if we read a lot, we don't realize how good of a writer we could be if we just read in great diversity. not just topic, but also the type of writing, you know, and just work at it. Writing is something like Curry's jump shot. Like you got to write a lot of pages, and that's why I always suggest a journal. You got to write a lot of pages, you know. So it's important, you know. I hope that helps, Telly. Um, when I tell you to write a journal, understand that I've written what number I'm up to. I'm about 5 pages left on my 57th journal, and these are all 200-page books. And I spent years not writing them either. So started them in 1998. You know, and write about all the books. It's hard to catch up, but write about the books I read. Write about everything: experiences, insights, thoughts, training. My martial arts training. I write about it. I analyze it. I write about everything, right? And I constantly read, right? I constantly read. Okay. The reading goal for me every year is always 52 books a year. Okay. I have not failed in that goal since I started it in 2004. Right. 2003 was the last year that I wrote down the books I read, and I read less than that. I read about, I think it was about 25, 26. You have to read. You have to read. Okay. You have to read a lot of shit. Okay. Reading, having the ability of a writer, having good vocabulary, having all these things, and having the ability to manipulate vocabulary, to say whatever it is you feel like saying, is like, it's like Kyrie Irving. You could go anywhere on the basketball court. Right? Yeah, and it never works like a book a week. Some books are longer, some books are shorter, some books are broken up, right? Books that are like 700, 600 pages, 500. I'll break them up 10, 15 a week, select books like that. I'll read short books, like, for example, The Great Learning or As a Man Thinketh or something like that. Quick reads, like Four Agreements is a fast read. Books of all varying types, though. You know what I mean? When it's time to have fun, instead of watching a show, I'll read a book that's fun. You know? I do watch a good amount of shows, too. It's not like all the arts should be engaged in. You know what I mean? Now that we get to choose things with the different apps, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, all those things, you can decide what arts you want to watch. What creativity you want to watch. And hopefully we're not just watching dumbbell shit, right? But a diversity of everything. You try to be diverse in everything. You know what I mean? Right? The good writer is not just one who's living life of learning. Many people engage life to have experiences, experiences of fun and doing this and doing that. I have engaged in life differently. I have engaged in life to have experiences of learning. So what happens is that when one looks at my life and looks at the experiences that I've had, they don't include a lot of the fun that a lot of people think about. But they include a vast amount of direct learning, mentor learning, um, a lot of stuff that you had to go get, but also massive amounts of book learning too. You know what I mean? I made book reading books the culture. You know, it depends, right? It depends, Talib, right? There's a lot of, like it depends on, like let's say if you're gonna be like, hey, I watch TV though, and I only watch shows like Family Guy. So I watch Family Guy. I watch, you know, I watch, Rick and Morty. I watch Simpsons, and I only watch shit like that. Those are dope shows. Like, Rick and Morty is mad creative and funny. You know what I mean? Um, but there should be a diversity. What you're trying. That don't mean that if you don't like Victorian period piece dramas, you don't have to watch Downton Abbey. You know what I mean? Um, Even though I liked it, you know what I mean? I love Downton Abbey, those bougie ass white folk, you know what I mean? But the thing is, though, is that having a good diversity of all the arts is important. You know what I mean? And having that, just like we listen to hip hop, right? We listen to music. It should open you. It's the greatest culture of music because the culture of hip hop actually should lead you into having some periphery knowledge of jazz and enjoying it. A periphery knowledge, definitely a knowledge of soul, and even get you into other music if you even get deeper into salsa and other stuff. And none of these genres will be no. Most people don't love every genre the same. Um, there are too many genres I have a high love for, but that's what I do. That's I study music, but the thing is though is that you become well rounded in your palette, and that's why one of my plus lessons, what did I call it? The the justice curriculum. You know what I mean? And it was based on having a well rounded palette of knowledge of different subjects, but also a diversity in those subjects. You know what I'm saying? Right? So when you're reading, it has to be diverse in those subjects as well. You know what I mean? It's a very like Rick and Morty. Yeah, yeah. Rick and Morty's crazy. You know. Absolutely. Yeah. These are different perspectives. You know what I mean? Like for example, right? I'll give you an example. Right. I come from a family where my siblings are extremely gifted in the arts. All of us are gifted in the arts, and my brother especially is an actor, but he's also a student. He's also an extreme student of acting. You know, not just a person that acts, but he's a real student of acting. So he watches lots of film. You know what I mean? And so it's easy to tap into him as a reference, though, for um, having a diverse amount of things to watch. But I also read way more, and what I often do to make sure, if you're trying to read more and you have trouble, um, read when you have energy. Usually what happens is that reading is something you do when you have time left. It is not major. Like in many respects, it's not major. Like there's other things you have to do, and reading isn't going to be something that things won't will things will still get done even if you didn't read. And that therein lies why people don't read. When people have time to chill, they usually don't have the energy to read. See? So the thing is though is that to first start finding your energy levels and what you could read at different energy levels. Okay? And gauging when you actually have free time. Because usually what happens when you have free time is you can go strictly to an app or often get lost in the social media app, you know? And those are all things, that you could get lost in, right? So what happens is that I usually just um, I watch programs and stuff. I really only watch stuff from the apps, Prime, Netflix, Hulu. Those are the only ways I'm really watching stuff, right? And I only watch things when I'm eating, and then when I realize I have no energy to do anything else. So, but I would like to, so I choose that. But if I have any type of energy, I start during the day and I have that free time, I go immediately into reading. And I scour. I scour. There are things I have to read, requirements. And then there are things that once I get into whatever I want to read, I pick the particular book that I can get a real flow in. Kind of like if you ever get into like a brisk jog and you're jogging, right? I don't know people that jog. I'm not really a jogger and stuff, but because where I train is far away, I figured I'd jog to the damn thing. But I love sprinting. But especially when you're jogging, your legs might feel tweaks of pain at different positions. And the way that you're jogging, how you pronate and how you step can change the impact. You know what I mean? And so when you're jogging, you want to get into a good groove that is impacting your muscle structures, right? And it's important because then you'll be going all slow and, just don't be jogging for like thousands of miles and stuff, if you want to look like a noodle. But I always want to go as fast as I can. I always get nervous about losing any other muscle I got, you know what I mean? But reading is kind of like that groove. You want to get into that good groove. And sometimes if you can't get into a groove, break up that book that is necessary into pieces. And even if it feels like you're on some bullshit, read something more fun at that moment. So, like for example, I have a lot of biography books about artists, right? I read a lot of biographies, and I write about artists. So, even though it's fun, it's something that's useful for me. So it's twofold, but it is fun. But I also have a lot of books that are like totally like they could be frivolous, like they could be seen as frivolous. Let me see. I'm trying to get you. Reload this thing. But like maybe a comedy book from a comedian stuff. Like what was it like? Yeah, like the last book I read. I never read this book, and I thought I did. I read Rodney Dangerfield's autobiography. You know what I mean? And it's not a life changing read. You know what I'm saying? But he was he's a legendary comic, and it was filled with jokes. It was funny as hell, right? And interesting. Besides the interesting stories. So if I wasn't reading that good, I was diving into that book because I didn't have a good groove. So I was diving into that. And that crept up the speed. You know what I mean? So that's the key, right? And if you're reading and you do have time, read when you're actually awake. Okay. You're going to get upset at yourself if you only gauge your abilities when you're reading. Like, I got to go to bed. Let's say you go, I got to go to bed at 11. I'm going to start reading at 10:30. Man, your reading is not going to be as great, as if you have some time during, the day. So like if you're at work, that meal doesn't take that long though. And if you're by yourself and, you're not going to lunch with anybody, spend that lunch hour reading. You know what I mean? If you have the energy during that lunch hour, if you didn't eat something that totally gave you the itis and stuff, hopefully, right? Read. Every job I've ever worked was about reading while I was doing my work. I read books at my computer. Before the digital age, though, I had pocket books, little books, right? So Art of Peace, Art of War, all of these things, they had the little pocket book, and I deliberately had those because that was what I had. I would sneak into my suit, take a bathroom break, and I'd be reading wherever I was. You know what I mean? In the toilet stall, in the hallway, in the by the elevators, you know what I'm saying? Taking breaks, doing all the reading I have, you know what I'm saying? And Ace Boogie, you have to email me because that's part of the curriculum. It's the beginner book list that I have, though. Okay, this course comes with a. I wouldn't be talking about books if I didn't give you all access um, to a large array of books. My digital library that I can share is almost 2,000 books. So there's a lot of books I can share with you, and definitely get you started with detailing the sciences in this knowledge of self and sciences of everything in life. Where is Bond? Right? Working with the Law by Raymond Hollowell. Sounds interesting. Uh, yeah. hmm Yeah. You know. Yeah, and the Instagram and stuff like that. We need to see lots of visual things and stuff like that, and that's why the social media is very engaging and stuff. I find myself right. Instagram, right? You always want to look at a hot chick or whatever like that, or you want to hear some new hip hop stuff, and you end up scrolling there forever. Um, I'll tell you this though: if there are things that I want to follow, I actually put it where I mute their post, especially like if there's people that I know and stuff. Let's say, even in my own life, like in the industry and all that, and in music and everything, there are artists that they're gorgeous. So I'm not following. I'm not gonna disrespect them and not follow them, but I mute their post. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to see them when I go on and be distracted. You know what I'm saying? I take away all distractions. So I go on there for like music information as best as I can. You do the best you can. But like for example, Twitter, I follow a lot of artists and a lot of news things, and it seems useful and yet not useful when it reaches a certain threshold. So you go too long with that. So you always have to check yourself. Twitter doesn't have it though, but I know Instagram and Facebook, they actually will tell you when you've been on the app for a certain amount of time, and you tell it how long, the time, so you could be told. Yeah, Sugar Blues by William Duffy. Yeah, my sister has that book. We were just cleaning out our stuff, and she showed me that book. Old book, very old book, but one of the first books that really went into that science. Yeah, 200 books is wonderful a year. I would say this though, and I say this though. If you're reading, for the people that read at an abnormal level, like 100, 200, or the saying that, they have to be most likely speed reading. But what I worry about too is that this is also reading is doing the knowledge. I want you reading a lot, a lot. You know what I'm saying? I spend every free moment, but you also have to be building off of what you read. And it's important though that you express all of your ideas about what you read, about what you do the knowledge to. Just doing the knowledge though is also impairing. It impairs you. Okay. No, as a man thinketh. You realize the ideas that are in that book? That book is about 40 pages though, but the ideas in that book though are profound though, and it is as quality and counts as a book as any other book. As any other book. You know. And if you're doing this, like you say, I'm going to read a certain amount of books every year, make a list. And you make a list mainly for a couple of reasons, but first you make the list because year after year you want to see if you're reading a diversity of books, like the subjects. But you also make the list to see, like, am I reading books that are just really like not really challenging? Are they too short? I'm not reading any books of, if they're too long and really useful, I'm just skipping them, right? Am I is it taking me too long to read the certain books, right? So all of that counts. Okay. All right, so I didn't realize we only have a couple of minutes left. So any questions you have, though, if you really want me to answer it now, though, it doesn't matter. Um, willingly, I'm gifted enough to answer it in 8 minutes, though. But if we go longer, that's just what it is. You guys keep me up here all night. That's nothing new. All right. So if there's any questions, please let me know. If not, and you don't really know how to detail it, though, that's fine too. Just email me. Okay. So some people here, like Ace Boogie, definitely email me so that way I can learn more about you and find a way for us to learn more and more efficiently. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Lana's born. I will definitely do the knowledge to that. So, and Bill Moon, how have I done with upholding that? Have I hated consistently? Right. It's wildly incorrect. Right. What have we hated? Right. What have we hated? You know. Right now, what hate group can you really talk about? All the hate groups have to have actions, and the only people that have done anything have been white folk. So, what black-led group has done anything hateful but spew some stupid stuff? Like, we talk about Hebrew Israelites, but what do they do but just talk? You know what I mean? 5%ers, no, we're not going to hate group Bill Moon, right? I see you retracted your message, but it was already out there, right? We're neither pro-black nor anti-white. white. We're pro righteousness and anti devilishment. If we say the black man is God, if we say the white man is the devil, then we give you the history why the creation of all humanity, the history of the Caucasian race, though its origins that there's a lot of detail from, that we have research from, right? All the while, the real racism that I see every day is programs like Ancient Aliens, right? Attributing the work of our ancestors, though, to people from spaceships, right? Peaceful protests today that get shot down by white folk that just could carry guns, though, and could have a gun mitzvah. Young kids have a gun mitzvah and get their shit open, right? I don't know who you are, Bill Moon, though, but to even throw out, not if it wasn't you, just something you heard, or anybody to even throw out whether we're a hate group, though, is some of the most pathetic things I've ever heard. You know, this flag right here, though, was given to us first by John Lindsay, was made by John Lindsay. This building that I'm in, though, and being the teacher to teach a class here the longest in this building, a building given to us, though, by the city of New York, land given to us by the city of New York that we own. And that wasn't because we're a hate group, because we're positive in the community. A history that includes quelling and stopping the potential riots that would have happened after Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, and riots happened everywhere across America's cities. Talib says, peace, Sunnis. Do you ever find yourself asking questions that you knew the answer to and stopping yourself mid-thought? I don't know. I don't know if maybe, I don't know. I'm not conscious of it, but sometimes the questions that you know the answer to, you don't know how to articulate it very well and put it into words. So that's some of the practice, right? Yeah, Action Bronson, yeah. I've never seen, one of the most infamous cultural appropriators of this era. People want to absolve him. Hey, this, you can't help what you sound like and stuff, and blah, blah, blah. And so we told him to use the word coupling and the emphasis and the inflections and all of that of Ghostface. And we told him to have videos where he exploits the black woman. No, look it up. Do your research, right? It was okay to have constantly do that show where they advocate that our legacy is aliens that made stuff. Right? Yeah, that's a culture appropriator for sure. Right? Bill Moon, you want to know what I hated? I'm a 5%er, and I hate that. I hate cultural appropriation that leads to devilishment of misinformation. How's that for a sentence there? Right? Yeah. People hear a lot of shit. Hey, group, go read, which will be the trilogy soon, The Righteous Way Golden Jubilee Edition by those two books by Starmel. You learn what type of group we are. You want to go read a book. Right now I'm editing the Infinity Edition, which is incredible. It's incredible, though. And that's coming out soon, too. Yeah. And you know, some people, our people, actually think that that is true because it makes sense, you know, because they look at civilization as linear, you know. This is the peak, and, you know, to do that back then is greater than now, so it must have been done by somebody else and gave it to them, you know. Well, here's the thing, though. Aliens gave it to Africans. Let's say aliens gave it to Africans. If that's the mandate, right? Then whites better watch themselves because they weren't able to do anything with it but ruin it. So maybe they might come back and get it, right? So I don't even know why you want to deal with the ancient aliens thing. It's just scare the shit out of you if you're white, right? But anyway, with that thing said, we are at the 10 o'clock hour. If you need anything from me, just email me, okay? You got my math, text me. You know, if we're on the social media, you can contact me. All right. All right. So with that said, stay healthy, build strong, right? And create. Right? Just create. Peace.